Hi and welcome back to our bite-sized tutorials on income generation for schools. I'm Justin Smith and this short video will introduce you to the concept of crowdfunding, what it is and how this particular method of fundraising could be really effective to support your aspirational projects in your school. So crowdfunding as a concept has been around for many years. You might be surprised to hear that in 1885 New Yorkers used crowdfunding to support funding for the Statue of Liberty, for example. But for us in our schools it's still a relatively new concept and it's still trying to gain traction. But essentially how it works is that rather than asking one donor for a large investment towards your project, you're asking multiple small donations from a number of different investors. Now, given that our schools sit at the heart of our communities and more often than not have a strong network of parents, suppliers, business owners, neighbours, governors and trustees, there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't consider crowdfunding as a potentially lucrative way of supporting your aspirational projects, particularly your small to medium-sized projects. After all, these community groups have an emotional connection with you and a vested interest in seeing your project succeed. There are lots of crowdfunding platforms. Now, essentially these platforms are websites that allow you to upload and share your project. Now, the advantage of using a platform such as crowdfunder.co.uk or donatemyschool.com, for example, is that they'll do a lot of the hard work for you. So they'll provide you with a web page for you to create your project profile using images and text, and then you can publicise and attract donations. Now, these platforms have a number of different tools to help increase the success of your campaign. So you can upload video, you can link to your social media such as Twitter and Facebook, and of course you can link to your website. There's gift aid provision built in and all sorts of different things. My suggestion would be to consider crowdfunding for smaller to medium-sized projects, say anything up to £10,000, certainly no more than that. There's no fixed limit, but my recommendation based on my experience is that it's really good for £4,000, £5,000, £6,000 projects, that sort of thing. And the optimum duration for a campaign is usually around 4 weeks. There's always a spike in activity at the beginning, of course, with lots of interest and excitement of the project. Then there's usually a little dip in the middle and also a spike at the end. So it's important to keep a project duration relatively small, around about sort of 4 weeks or so. There are a number of crowdfunding platforms to choose from, and I've mentioned Donate My School and Crowdfunder, but there's many others. Rocketfund.org, for example, is specifically designed to support technology-related projects and is supported by Nesta and other partners, so that means they can pass on 100% of all the donations. Most of these platforms, however, will charge some sort of commission or setup fee. And it's usually pretty small. I mean, if you take Donate My School, for example, they charge just 3% commission on all of the donations that are raised. And that's for their basic package, which between you and I is perfectly good enough for most of us. So do a little homework and choose the one that's best for you and your needs for the school. Finally, here are my top tips for setting up and running a successful crowdfunding campaign. So firstly, and it sounds pretty obvious, but it is really important, is understand precisely what you're fundraising for and why. What difference this project will make to your school and the children, and be really explicit and clear about that. What's the impact that a donor can have, and why do you need their support? We've talked about this with our grant applications. It's really important to understand that narrative. So that's the first one, get that right first. Secondly, connect and promote to your entire network. So make a list of all your target audience. This includes children and staff, of course, but also governors and parents, suppliers, businesses. And remember, it's not all about online promotions. So traditional offline methods such as leaflets and your newsletter and word of mouth are incredibly effective. Get in touch with your media contact at the local press as well, because a catchy and interesting campaign from a local school is likely to grab their attention as well. And as much publicity as you can get will obviously help your campaign. Thirdly, give serious thought to a short video to accompany your campaign. Crowdfunding platform Kickstarter, for example, did some research and found that projects with videos are around 150% more likely to achieve their funding target than those without a video. Enthusiasm is key, and a video helps capture that. So Get students involved, get your parents involved, get staff involved. A short video that's really natural, not overly polished, be professional, but keep it natural. That's likely to garner the enthusiasm of your target market, your audience. Fourthly, rewards. Now, it may be an offer, it may be an idea to offer rewards to donors. Now, according to Funded, projects with rewards of under £20 are 83% more likely to be successful than those without. So the average donation to social crowdfunding is around £25, so it's important to consider a reward there too. Now, it doesn't have to be a cash value. We could be talking about a thank you card or an appearance on a donations board or some sort of acknowledgement. These small rewards that are relevant but quite quirky will be quite interesting to donors and investors. They could act as an incentive, so just give that some thought. You don't have to offer rewards, but many schools do, and they do appear to work. So anyway, whatever you decide to do, just make sure you thank every donor, whatever the size of their contribution. And finally, celebrate. At the end of the campaign, just make sure you plan your celebration. Acknowledge those supporters and volunteers, all of those that have helped you along the way and been part of your campaign. So you've shared your fundraising campaign. Make sure you share those celebrations as well. It's really important. So that's a very quick introduction to the concept of crowdfunding. There are so many stories of schools that I work with that have raised significant sums for worthy projects in a relatively short space of time. A primary school near me, for example, raised over £4,300 in a crowdfunding campaign, and they did that in just 43 days, which is pretty good for a small rural primary school. Our schools occupy a unique place in our communities, and crowdfunding represents a brilliant way to engage with those communities, get them behind a really good cause. So thank you for joining me in this short tutorial. We'll have a longer, deeper dive session on crowdfunding later, where we'll explore a lot more in terms of the concepts and some of the ideas and theories behind it, and some practical aspects you can put into practice. But thanks for joining me, and I hope you found this tutorial useful and informative.